Hi, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another gaming video today. So we are looking at kind of similar to the discussions we've been having recently about kind of retro games and then also remakes of retro games. It's been very relevant lately. They literally just came out with a Dead Rising remake. They're remaking Metal Gear Solid 3. They're also remaking Silent Hill 2. They remade Dead Space. They remade Demon's Souls. So they're remaking every single game. So the reason why I bring up Yookalaylee is because, of course, this is a spiritual successor to Banjoo and Kazooie. A little inaccurate, that statement, because this is actually the sequel. So this is Yookalaylee 2. And this particular game is not a sequel to Banjoo and Kazooie as much as it is a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country. So again, we'll hop into just the first level and I'll show it off for you. And it is very much like Donkey Kong Country. It's actually interesting because the game they made before this, the initial Yookalaylee, was not really well received at all. It was not well received at all. And that is largely to do with the fact that it's just, you know, again, not a very good game. It is definitely not what I would describe as a good game. Yookalaylee 1. Yookalaylee 2, again, it lowered the scope of what it was trying to present. It provided a very simple 2D platforming experience that is, once again, the exact same as Donkey Kong Country. But Banjo-Kazooie, out of scope, right? You know, again, we talk all the time about the difficulties of, recreating classic games. And how spiritual successors like this often miss the mark. Sequels to old franchises often miss the mark. But this, again, works. This works because it isn't trying to be Banjo-Kazooie, I would argue, right? So basically they went from, okay, the fans want Banjo-Kazooie again, they tried it, it didn't work, now we're doing Donkey Kong Country. Because we know that we can nail that. And honestly, this is a video game. Like, this is not, again, we talk a lot on the channel about how bad remakes are and how bad spiritual successors are, but this one is fine. Like, there's nothing offensive about it. It's totally inoffensive in the scope of the project and what it's trying to accomplish. So sometimes, I think the real lesson is here, and again, if any, member of the development team for this particular game wants to sign off, why did you move away from Banjo-Kazooie to instead make this game, which is clearly just, your take on Donkey Kong Country. There must have been a reason. It would have been the failure of the first title, absolutely. But I think it's a little more complicated than that. Because, honestly, out of the two games, I would rather play this than Yookalaylee 1, right? Yookalaylee 2, I think we can all agree, is colorful, it's pretty, it's a functional 2D platformer. It is a playable video game that is worth considering. You can even swim underwater, kind of old school Donkey Kong Country stuff. You have the platforming, you have a simple attack button, you have a ground pound, you have all these things. You have a 2-life system, just like, again, if you can't remake something better than it was before, don't even try. I think that is really the development lesson. Like, if you can't do what you set out to do, create something new. Or at least create a slightly refreshed take on an old classic. Because again, their attempt to just make Banjo-Kazooie literally is unplayable. And in fact, when I tried to set up a recording for the first Yookalaylee, it wouldn't even take because, current NVIDIA recordings don't classify it as a compatible game. It's just like, what is this crap, They couldn't even recognize it. So yeah, again, we'll get out of the level and just talk about, give my final thoughts on, remakes and spiritual successors. So again, Yookalaylee 1, not a great game. Most people who played it were disappointed. It was not as good as Banjo-Kazooie. Yookalaylee 2, a functional video game. It has this really bright, colorful overworld similar to a Nintendo first-party game. You have these little simple puzzle navigations similar to a Nintendo first-party game, like a Mario title. and you can talk to all the colorful little characters in this 2D overworld, and all of it just functions better than their attempt to remake Banjoo Kazooie. So again, previously we have talked about spiritual successors and remakes that have not worked. This is an example of a developer learning that lesson very clearly and then pivoting and adjusting for the 21st century. This is Eternal King, signing out.